Boo!
In my 20th birthday homage to Channel 5, the question of whether Channel 5 predicted the future of the TV ident arises. After looking at the trends of the idents and giving my opinion on them, I noticed the similarities between past Channel 5 idents with idents which aired on other stations years after 5 dropped them, and those future idents on the same station. This episode will look at those similarities and the extent of the Channel 5 effect on style, technique and lifespans, and what it could mean for the future of the TV ident. Before 1997, logos on backgrounds and objects flying through space were commonplace across terrestrial and even on satellite. Anglia was the very first station to use live-action idents with their night ident in 1959, but they were the only station to do this, as others used mechanical models to produce the logos on plain background effect. 34 years later, Carlton became the second station to use live action, with the people of London promoting the channel through word of mouth. But both Carlton and Anglia introduced new objects in space idents to replace their live action idents, and this was more the norm between 1955 and 1997. In the late 1980s and 1990s, live action was restricted to trailer stings, for example these on Channel 4 in the early part of the 90s and these BBC One efforts from the Cow era. Channel 4 released a batch of new idents in 1996 incorporating live action nearly half a year before the launch of 5. In the Channel 4 idents the screen blurred, whereas in the early 5 live action idents the clip was played in full and the logo was placed on screens or on an object. One of the main reasons Channel 5 predicted the future could be down to the idents themselves and the similarities of an ident from 1997 on 5 to a 2011 ident on the same channel, or a 1999 5 ident to a noughties ITV1 ident. Though you could say Channel 4 influenced Channel 5 or Carlton paved the way for live action, it seems like the Channel 5 idents had a stronger influence. In 1999, the celebrity idents were introduced, where some celebrities paraded around a studio with a 5 logo in the backdrop accompanied by a unifying jingle. This is similar to the technique of the ITV1 celebrity idents of 2002, where the stars promoted the channel's programmes similar to DJ Fox and the cast of Family Affairs a few years earlier on 5. Here is the first bit of evidence of Channel 5 telling us what ITV would look like in the future. Another way they predicted the future of TV idents could be seen through the lifespan of the idents on both Channel 5 and Channel 3. In 1999, the first set of celebrities were introduced, and then a year later the second set was introduced. This was exactly what ITV did with their celebrity idents. In October 2002, the first set of celebrity idents were introduced on ITV1, only for them to be refreshed in the autumn of 2003, with a revised version of the same jingle and a refurbished studio. This is very similar to what Channel 5 did in 2000. Even though the ITV1 idents introduced in November 2004 after the second phase of the celebrities were different to the March 2002 Channel 5 range, they did predict the future of ITV by reverting to logos in space, which ITV did only for those idents to be discontinued due to a major rebrand, which was also the reason for the March 2002 Channel 5 idents to be dropped. The parallels between ITV and Channel 5 was the lifespan of these idents and the pattern they followed with their techniques. This also seems to predict the next major ITV rebrand. The logos in space ITV1 idents and the flashing 5 in space made way for idents with a new logo as part of the major rebrand. The first lot of 5 idents were based on the day-to-day goings-on, and this was the theme of the ITV January 2006 idents. Therefore, ITV followed the pattern of Channel 5 again by following on from 2 sets of short-lived celebrity idents, respectively to logos in space and then lifestyle. The biggest example of 5 predicting the future of ITV in 2002 was the similarities between ident, style and size of logo in the idents, and also the theme of a 2013 ITV rebrand. Some of the 2013 ITV idents are pretty much identical to some of the 2002 5 idents. For example, the Candy Floss and Chip Shop idents on both sides, as is also the case with other idents. Both 2002 5 and 2013 ITV logos are in the lower case. To further strengthen this point, even some of the 1997 Channel 5 idents are similar to some of the 1999 ITV Hearts variations and idents used in the Carlton-owned regions. Examples of this is with the size and positioning of the logo in the animated idents and the objects interchanging or flashing in the background. An example of this, which was stated in the first Channel 5 episode, was with the water and vegetation idents, which had pictures of objects interchanging in a similar fashion to the heart-shaped objects in the Carlton idents, and in some of the other idents there were logos rotating in space, similar to the rotating hearts in the backdrop of the ITV generic idents used in non-Carlton regions. This also strengthens the argument that Channel 5 predicted what type of ident ITV would use in the future. This was not just exclusive to ITV. Shortly after the launch of Channel 5, many other stations were taking live action by storm and were pledging further to it, especially with the use of a live setting. In October 1997, BBC One used live action for the first time, as their globe was used as a hot air balloon rather than a model rotating in a space. The globe balloon appeared in different sizes in different locations, just like the 1997 Channel 5 logo in their live-action idents. And some of the BBC Two later editions involved living things, such as gorillas and swans, accompanying the numeral 2, like the traveller, the woman at the club, and the people in the lift. Therefore, BBC Two took on the Channel 5 technique by mixing their approach with live action, which 5 did initially by mixing it with the BBC objective take. Despite taking techniques from the BBC Two archive, the 2004 to 2005 5 idents have echoes of the BBC One future. For example, the Magic Forest variation of a circles idents looks like the ident with the midges. Even today, there are elements of Channel 5 past on IDENT-ity, with the infamous oneness idents, with the use of generic clips of people accompanied by an animated logo with no jingle. Maybe 5 had a part to play in telling us how dull and drab future idents would be. It was not just ITV who promoted programmes in the idents, as BBC and Channel 4 have had a go at this. The balloon idents in 2000 and 2001 had idents promoting the Olympics, Euro 2000, Walking with Beasts and Blue Planet. And they did this in the latter end of the decade and into the present one with the circles such as the EastEnders, Planet Earth, Frozen Planet, Ashes to Ashes and Strictly Come Dancing. This was stronger during Christmas, for example the idents promoting Doctor Who and many of the biggest blockbusters shown on BBC One, such as Shrek in 2012 and Toy Story in 2013. This has continued into the oneness package with a BBC Heartner ident for the One Love Manchester concert and the BBC Starner for Let It Shine. Also, some of the choirs taking part on Pitch Battle gave their take on BBC One theme songs of their flagship programmes. Channel 4 have also been onto this with a Crystal Maze special ident to promote the new series, with a crystal rolling through the blocks at the end, and the Simpsons idents. Another good Channel 4 example would be the Going on a Bear Hunt ident for Christmas 2016, starring the characters, which is very similar to the Channel 5 1999 or 2011 approach. Channel 5 have also become the station who would champion idents with no official logo. The present-day Channel 4 idents have no presence of its official logo in full, but it was Channel 5 who did this before anyone else, as their emotions idents used words instead of logos. However, there was a hint to the actual logo, as the words, formed by clouds or appearing on a lilo, were in the same font as the official logo. Channel 4 may no longer show a logo in one piece, but their way of doing a Channel 5 is done with the blocks in the shape of the components of the trademark 4 being scattered around the place. So we still have a pointer to the actual Channel 4 branding without seeing the full logo. This is similar to the words in the 5 idents and is part of subliminal branding. This is a new technique used in idents, which seem to get the viewer guessing what channel they are watching, without being told, like in the past, by a full logo and unifying trademark jingle. As stated in my series on the history of Channel 5 idents, it also seems that these idents have predicted the future of Channel 5's own branding. The Channel 5 idents from between 2008 and 2016 were a nod to the past. For example, the studio idents, which promoted the programmes. Some of the 2011 idents had the logo as an object, for example the 5 logo on the police car and the toy, which is similar to the lift ident of 1997. where the 5 logo represents floor number 5. Another example of 2011 meets 1997 would be the club-like setting in the 1997 ident and the 2011 studio, where the original 5 in a circle flashed on a black screen, similar to the red 2011 screen. The celebrities and the hints to the channel's programmes also reappeared in 2009 and in the studio idents of 2011, and this led to the theme of Channel 5 idents being based on celebrities and the programmes. This shows 5 mixing both their 1997 and 1999 techniques. In 2006, the emotions idents were introduced, which had no presence of the official logo, which is what we see today on the same station. The 1997 idents also seem to predict the fate of their own branding. All of these idents had the word 5 in lowercase, as well as the 5 in the circle generic logo. Maybe there was a subliminal message in these idents, that in the future Channel 5 would rebrand to 5 and use a lowercase word as their official logo. The 1997 idents tell us a story of Channel 5 in 2002, as the March 2002 idents do look like some of the animated originals. The arguments and proof of Channel 5 predicting its own future draws back to the influence the station had on other channels, as the BBC also made idents which could have been rebooted versions of older idents. For example, the Oneness idents, which look like rebooted versions of the Rhythm and Movement idents, and the Window of a World BBC Two idents, which have hints to the Lambie Nairn 1990s 2 variants, which also made a return in original form in 2014 and are still shown on BBC Two to this date. The 2004 Channel 4 idents also seem to have influence from the original Blocks in Space. In 2008, 5 aired special idents to promote the new Fiat 500 model, and they became the first station on terrestrial television to mix idents and adverts, and this was a recurring theme of the 2011 studio batch, with idents advertising phones and the latest blockbusters at the cinema. Going back to predicting the future of other stations' idents, we may see more idents on these stations without the official logos in full, like on Channel 4, and maybe some without a hint to the actual logo, like on 5. Maybe like Channels 4 and 5, the idents will encourage viewers to guess what station they are watching, rather than being upfront. Maybe the next set of ITV idents will feature words, either as emotions like 5 in 2006, or adjectives to describe the channel. We could even have idents featuring Ian, Tom and Vernon as main characters, or just have Anton Deck, Jeremy Kyle or Robert Peston giving their thoughts on the channel, which will be a pointer to the past with the use of the channel's poster people, something they did in 2002. Maybe the Channel 5 influence on the future of ITV idents could be the technique of mixing adverts with idents. For example, Monkey sipping his brew whilst giving his view of the channel, or an ITV logo on a BMW, similar to the 5 logo on the car in the 2011 Channel 5 idents. We may, though, be left with an ITV logo being eaten by a shark or falling from a tree, which may not be new, but may be more popular with the viewers due to having a more of an ident feel to it. Channel 4 could end up having an ident with people wearing Channel 4 t-shirts whilst drinking Coca-Cola. To conclude, live action was nothing new in 1997, as Carlton and Channel 4 had used it before the launch of Channel 5, and Anglia did so as of the 1950s right through to the 1980s. but it had only become a norm on other channels in later years. The style and theme of the idents is the best example of 5 predicting the future, with the parallels between the Channel 5 celebrity idents of 1999 and those ITV1 idents 3 years later. The championing of the channel's programmes in the idents is more evidence of a Channel 5 effect, as is the absence of an official logo, which was first done by Channel 5 in 2006 and was a technique adopted on Channel 4 in September 2015, a few months before the latest set of logo-free 5 idents were introduced. 5 also rebooted old idents, which is something the BBC has done recently. This argument also stretches to the lifespans of the idents and the pattern of techniques the stations followed. I am Tim Goodwin, over and out, take care and peace.